I'm Jeff Miller, and I'm going to show you briefly how to create a quiz in your WyoCourses course shell. And by quiz, I mean exam, quiz. You can even make a survey using the quiz tool. So first of all, you can build a quiz through a number of avenues. You can go through assignments and create a new quiz, or you can go through quizzes and create a new quiz. And no matter how you do it, the quiz will end up in the same place. So I'm going to click on quizzes, and here I am. Over here on the right, you have Create a New Quiz button. So here's where you start setting your quiz up. Here's where you put the title. I'm going to call this Midterm Exam. And here's where you enter instructions for the, in this case, midterm exam. You have a visual editor here, so you can make this font larger, and you can make it a different color, and you can put links or images, whatever you need to put in there. The quiz type default is always graded quiz when you build a quiz. You can also make it a practice quiz that's not graded, and you can also create surveys. I'll leave it as a graded quiz. You can choose an assignment group. I will appropriately choose exams, a group I created through the assignments tab. You can shuffle answers, which mixes up the response options on, for example, a multiple choice question, so that one student's option A for question 1 is different than another student's option A for question 1. You can put a time limit on this exam. You can allow multiple attempts if you like, and you can either retain the score from the last time the student took it or their highest score. You can put in there a specific number of attempts you'll allow them to use. You can also let students see their quiz responses if you like, and this is after it's all done and they go into their gradebook. They can see their responses, and you can also let them see the correct answers. These are not necessarily checked by default. This is checked from the last time I played with this. And then you can also limit the time the correct answers are available. But you can't limit the time, I don't think, within a day. So you can, so let's say you can make them available for one day, the 25th, from 12 a.m. to April 26th at 12 a.m. Whoops. You can also show one question at a time, so students just see one question on their screen at a time. Otherwise, they're just listed and they just scroll down and answer them. And when you do this, you can also lock them, so they have to make their way through. They can't go back to question 1. They have to answer it and keep going. You can require an access code or a password, which is a good idea if you're having exams proctored, certainly like in an outreach class, for example. Then the proctor can be the one with the password to let them in. You can filter via IP address. So if you just want students to be able to take it on certain computers in a certain computer lab, you can use those IP addresses. Be careful and test that, however, because that can be more complicated than it sounds. So if you set IP addresses up, just make sure the computers that you want to work will work. You can require Respondus lockdown browser, and Respondus is the same company that made ExamGuard for eCollege. Our experience so far is that it has not worked real smoothly with Canvas, and I'm not sure if that's just because we don't quite know what we're doing yet, or if the integration is not as smooth as it was with eCollege. But in any case, it's available, and some folks have used it. It requires your students to download some software and install it on their computer in order to take the exam. It's installed, I believe, in computer labs on campus. Lockdown browser keeps students from searching the web or opening other applications on the computer on which they're taking the exam. It wouldn't prevent them, however, from looking at their iPhone off to the side. So just keep that in mind. You can also determine who the exam is for if you have groups set up. I don't, so I'll just put it for everyone. You can set the due date. Let's say the due date is the 24th at 11:59 p.m. And we're going to have the exam open from the 22nd to the 24th. So we'll set the 22nd in there at 12 a.m. And when you're setting, for example, this date up, you want to make sure you don't say 12, because if you say 12 a.m., then it will be due the minute April 24th begins. So they won't have April 24th to do it. And if you say 12 p.m., the cutoff will be noon. So just keep that in mind. So you want to say, keep in mind when you want to use 11:59 and when you want to use 12. And then we're going to have it open until the due date. So I will select the 24th here again, and I will say 11:59 p.m. And we'll save, and you have all of your parameters set up. Okay, now we want to put some questions in our exam. You'll notice that the points up here say 0, and that's because we don't have any questions, and the exam points is just the sum of all the points for each question. So we click on this tab here that says questions, and we can create a new question, and we have a whole bunch of options of the different kinds of questions we can create. I'll choose multiple choice. We'll say, how is the weather today? All right, my first one is going to be very nice. My second one is going to be too hot. It's going to be too cold. And my third one's going to be just right. All right. Then you can choose which answer is the correct one by clicking the little green arrow. I'll come down here and choose just right, so that respondents can grade this exam. You can add another possible answer if you have more choices you want to put in there. You can change the points for this question. We'll say it's worth 2 points. All right, and then you say update question, and you've got that question in there. Another way to add questions is you can add a question group, and this draws questions from a question bank that's in your course. So we'll call this group section 2. And we'll say we want to pick 2 questions, and they're going to be worth 2 points each, and then we're going to link this to a question bank. So these are 2 question banks that I have in my course. This one has 7 questions. We'll choose that one. So now it tells, this is the title of the question bank. So for every student, it's going to pull randomly 2 questions from this question bank for this part of the exam. You can also come down, I'll say create group. You can also come down here and say find questions. So you can choose a test bank, and then you can select a question or 2 questions or 3 questions, and then you can say add questions. I'm going to say no group, we'll just add those questions. All right, so those questions have been added to the exam. And I will save this. And while we're talking about questions, there are ways to import questions. So you can import a quiz, or you can import a question bank. It has to be a QTI file, which is a very specific file type that has to do with questions and tests. The University of Wyoming has a site license for Respondus, which is a program that will allow you to do this. So if we go to the IT website, Information Technology, and we come over here and we enter Respondus, and we'll get some options here. And if you choose this option, here's information about how to install Respondus onto your computer. And so this is a program that will allow you to import a bunch of questions or a test that you've created in Word into your WyoCourses course shell. Some publishers also provide QTI options for test banks. So if you have access to a publisher's test bank and there's a QTI option, I believe you can import that test bank into your WyoCourses course shell. And whenever you import a bunch of questions into WyoCourses, it shows up as both possible quiz and a possible test bank. So if you imported 100 questions from a publisher and you wanted your quiz to be 100 questions long, you could just use that as a quiz. Or if you wanted to make your quiz 50 questions that were randomly pulled from that, then you could set those questions up the way I showed you and reference that test bank. That's basically how to build quizzes in WyoCourses. I hope you found this useful, and thank you for watching.